So today I'd like to talk about your career path and lessons that you've learned along the way. And first of all, the thing that stood out to me whenever we connected on LinkedIn, I mean, not only am I familiar with your firm because your firm is based here in Tulsa, but also you were an honors intern with the FBI. And so was I. And I get a lot of questions about how this program works, but like I'm old now. So I don't know how these things work. So when I saw you had this background, I was like, okay, we've got to have him on the podcast so he can like educate our listeners and help our listeners. Um, so first of all, what led you to pursue this internship opportunity?
So really, I guess two parts. I mean, growing up, I always had an interest in law enforcement, but I kind of lost it as I got towards college, and I was looking for, what I wanted to do. I started with finance, and then tacked on accounting, and then later dropped finance. But as I was exploring what to do with an accounting degree, um, most of the typical things didn't sound super interesting, and then I stumbled across forensic accounting. And so I did a lot of research on it. I actually spoke to with different recruiters from firms as a college student, just kind of like, hey, how do I get started and stuff like that. And just a lot of sources online pointed towards FBI hires forensic accountants. So I was like, wow, that seems like the place to be for the exciting stuff. So as I was poking around on that, I stumbled across their internship and waited around for the application to open up.
Yeah, so I want to know about this process because even just when we were chatting before we started recording, I learned there's a lot of differences since 2006 when I was an honors intern. So, whenever I'm asked about this, I just refer people to FBI.gov. But so you were in this program in 2019. So, how did this program work when you were there? And what was that application process like?
So yeah, you actually it's FBIJobs.gov has all the information out there. You actually apply the September before the summer that the internship is. So I applied in September of 2018 for summer 2019, um, and so you just make sure that it's only open for a certain period of time. So you have to make sure that you're watching for it to open it up, and they have it on the website. And so just keeping an eye out for that and making sure that you're meeting the minimal qualifications. They're looking for all backgrounds for the internship and for employees in general. So don't worry too much about what your major is. It's really just, you know, what do I want to do long term? And they also have automatic disqualifiers, so just make sure that you don't fall into any of those categories.
Do you remember what any of those were?
Most of them are, drug use related, some arrest history, overall background check. Um, One thing that I don't think people realize is that even as an intern, you're getting a full top secret security clearance. So they're not going to shortcut the process for you. It's a long process. And I always tell people, the key thing is to be patient. It takes time. Um, I believe that I actually got my final like confirmation as I was driving to the field office as I was moving out there. So it
Oh
was
my
like down
gosh.
to the wire on timing. And I mean, you just have to be patient with it and see it through.
Yeah. So, okay. So did they still do a polygraph?
They still do a polygraph, so
Okay. Yeah.
you still have to pass polygraphs, still have to get fingerprinted, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I just remember my polygraph interview, and, I attended Oral Roberts University, so, like, a really strict honor code and stuff, and so I remember they were asking me questions during, I mean, there is a lot of background check stuff, but they were asking me about, like, marijuana use or alcohol, use or whatever, and I said and at that point in my life, I had never had tasted alcohol except for, like, at the Episcopal church, like, when I went with my boyfriend a couple times, like, that was the only exposure I'd ever had, and well, maybe not exposure, but, like, I just had never drank, and he was like, "There is no way," and I think this was on the polygraph because I remember him, like, looking at it,
Yeah.
and he's like, "There is no way," and finally, I just told him because he just kept, like, harping on, "There is no way that you have never had alcohol," and I just said, I have wanted to work for the FBI since I was in ninth grade. So, no, I would have been like this major rule follower my entire
Yeah.
life, even through college. But he just couldn't believe that that was that that was my answer. Like, surely the polygraph was gonna show I was lying, but no.
Yeah, and it's tough because, I kinda had a similar stories. I mean, I was like, "No, I've never tried any of these drugs," and they're like, "You've never even experimented, like, once, like, several years." I'm like, "No, I've never been interested." Like, I've always kept it clean. But I will say that you have a personal security interview early on in the process where they go over everything that you submitted, and they do kind of probe you a little bit and ask about those things and make sure that, you're ready for that polygraph and you're telling the truth. And they're
Yeah,
not looking for people that have never done anything wrong. I mean, just admit to what you have done so that it doesn't come out that you lied, and just move forward with it. I mean, they're not looking for someone who's never had a parking ticket. I mean, you know,
right.
there is some leeway.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember one of the like, there was this one agent who would say all the time, "If you ever mess up, just admit it." Like,
Correct, yeah,
but if you lie about
100%.
it, you're out.
Oh,
Like, this
yeah.
was even after I was at the bureau. He's like, "If you lie about it, you're gone." So
That's how it is, gotta be candid. And talking about the background process, I actually it's funny because, they have the investigators go out and talk to your neighbors and your employers and stuff like that. So I worked through college part-time, and so I remember showing up to work, and there was a truck out front that I didn't recognize, and I'll walk inside, and my coworkers are all like, "What'd you do?" The FBI is in there talking to the manager, Um, and same thing, people were asking about it because he went or I went to Arkansas Tech University, so he was up there talking to my professors and, just asking about, my grades and how I am in class, things like that. So,
yeah, I had no idea they were gonna do that, and so, I mean, I didn't tell anyone. I mean, and I don't even think I, like do we put people I think they talked to people I hadn't even, like, listed. So, like, on my application or whatever, and so I just had all these people I remember texting me, like, "Leah, the FBI just interviewed me today. Thanks a lot," you know?
yeah, no, I did have to identify some people. So
Yeah.
they reached out to them, but then I think that later on they kind of just like on the spot was like, "Hey, who else can we talk to,
Yep.
that you haven't thought about?" So,
Yeah, it is intense, but like you said, there's still, like, leeway and stuff, just be honest. That's what they're looking for, which, I mean, as an employer, I really just need people to be honest with me too. I mean,
right.
it's fair, you know? Especially for the type of work they were doing. Okay, so when I was an honors intern, we were either assigned to DC headquarters, um, DC field office, Quantico, or Criminal Justice Information Systems in West Virginia. But when you were in the program, they sent you to field offices. So tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so if you go on there, they actually have you rank your top 6 choices. So most people will put a lot of people want to go to headquarters, or they wanna stay local. I had this bright idea that I really wanted to show that I was ambitious and wanted to, was willing to relocate and all this stuff. So I ranked Portland 1st on my list, and then I think Little Rock 2nd or 3rd down in there. And so I actually went to Portland for my internship, the field office. So, and again, they do not cover reimbursements or, travel expenses or housing. So think through those choices. That was all on me moving out to Portland for a summer.
Yeah, the moving was on you. Is it still paid?
It
Did
is
you
still
still get
paid,
paid once you got there?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they just
but
don't
getting
pay.
there.
Yeah, they don't pay for the housing while you're there either.
Right. Yeah, you gotta pay that out of what they're paying you.
Correct.
Yep. Yep, I remember that. Um, yeah, so where were you assigned well, first of all, why did you choose Portland?
You know, I wish I had some great reason. I just kind of wanted to go explore Portland, and
Okay.
just thought it sounded like a cool place to go, and it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah, I don't think there's any better weather than in Portland, like, it's
Yeah,
so
it was
nice.
perfect.
So nice, especially in the summer, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Um, and then when you got there, how did they choose where you were assigned or, like, were you on a special, were you in a special section or unit?
Yeah, so, I don't know how they determine it. I don't know if they look at your major and line you up, but I so happened to be assigned to the white collar crime squad.
Oh,
So
awesome.
I got to work hand in hand with the forensic accountants. I was assigned a mentor who was amazing. I won't name his name because he's still with them, but he really put a lot of faith and trust in me to work on active cases and help move them along, and really just took me under his wing, and it was a great time.
Love that.